Continuing our conversation about the late, great Tommy Lasorda, a man whose virtual entire life bled Dodger blue. And one man that knew him as well as anybody is our good friend, Dodger legend Steve Garvey. Steve, thanks for being here on what I'm sure for you was a sad day. 93 years old, obviously not unexpected, but this man has been a part of your life since you were a teenager.
Oh, absolutely, Gino. And today is a sad day, but it's also a day of the celebration of a wonderful life, a full life. You and I have talked. I've always said Las Vegas had him over and under at about 72 in terms of lifespan, but he far outlived that. God blessed him with so many wonderful things. And I always said he was the P.T. Barnum of baseball because he was bigger than life. We're in the memory business, and nobody's created more memories than Tommy. I first met him, I think, the first week of June in 1968. I was drafted. I go to Ogden, Utah. I walk into the old Ben Lomond Hotel, and about 90 feet away from the front desk, and I see this man. Looks like he's holding court with guys my age. Well, it was Buckner and Valentine and Peshoric. And I walk up to him, and he turns around, and this must be Steve Garvey. I said, yes, sir. He said, son, your life's changed forever. You're a Dodger now. I'm thinking, oh, my Lord. And we all buckled up our seatbelts, and 50-plus years later, we're all blessed to be part of his life. And his, of course, was always sprinkled with the game, the love of the game, the love of the Dodgers. And he was like a second father to me.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions because you guys were both pretty young. Obviously, he's older than you, but you're a teenager. Yeah. But he was a young guy, too, in Ogden and then Spokane. And you literally came up together. So more of a big brother figure for you?
Yeah, he was so, well, I was basically 20. I was after my sophomore year at Michigan State. He had pitched for the Dodgers just briefly, Kansas City. Then when he retired, the Dodgers took him back as a scout, and then he started managing Ogden, which was rookie league in 1966. He won the first 2 years there. Then we had arguably the greatest draft class ever in baseball with, like I said, Buckner and Valentine and Peshoric and Huff and all these guys, Davey Lopes, Ron Say. And yeah, he was, obviously he was 20 years older plus. But he felt more like a young father because the energy, the enthusiasm, the zest for life, the love for the Dodgers and the game. And we had about 5 days before that first game in the Pioneer League, and he worked us out twice a day. And he told you, I'm going to teach you what you should feel when you put on that Dodger uniform. And he did. And throughout our lives, even though we all may have played for another team, I played for the Padres 5 years, but almost 20 or 15 in LA. He was a mentor, he was a friend, and for me, he was really a second father.
Yeah, we consider those Padre years the dark ages, so we don't like to talk about it here at NBC Palm Springs.
No.
Those hideous uniforms. Those hideous uniforms they forced you to wear, Steve. It was a travesty. Tommy, there wasn't anybody that didn't like Tommy, but if he had two foils, it was umpires and mascots. Tell me about some of those experiences for you.
Well, he was so passionate. He fought constantly for his players and for his team. And marginal things weren't marginal to Tommy. I mean, everything was black and white. If he thought we were being cheated or an umpire wasn't performing right or were being taunted by, the Philly Fanatic or the San Diego Chicken, then he would kid about it because, he was playing the game. He was playing the game of life. Nobody instigated things more than Tommy. But that's, when you think of Tommy Lasorda, and I coined the phrase, he's been the P.T. Barnum of baseball. I mean, under the big top of baseball, he's been the ringleader. And when times were slow, he would ignite things. He would get things started. I had never been in a real fight in my life until I was on that Ogden team in '68. I think we had 4 or 5 fights that year. And even in the major leagues, he would get us to the brink. And he was such a good psychologist that he did that to get us going. He could sense when we were flat. He knew when we had too big a lead and we were sitting on it or we were behind. but still had a chance. So he was constantly pushing us to keep, as I've always said when I've spoken, to the reach for the moon. Keep reaching for the moon. If you fall short, you'll be a star, and maybe we'll just win the division, not the world championship. So he was arguably the first real psychologist as a manager in the game of baseball.
He's never been given a lot of credit for being a great tactician. They said he coached with his gut and that sort of thing that you just talked about as a motivator. But couldn't it be argued that leading the '88 Dodgers to the World Series may have been the greatest coaching job ever done by any coach ever?
Well, you know, each champion has its own culture, its own character. That one was built more on pitching, defense, timely hitting. You know, our 4 World Series and World Championship against the Yankees was about really talented power. We could run. You know, we had excellent pitching. The continuity of that golden era from 73 to 85, the infield that stayed together 8.5 years, Baker and Smith, Monday, all these guys. But 88 was a team that he had to constantly tweak and mold. And like you said, use that gut sense of Mickey Hatcher's been hot. You know, he's not a great athlete, but he's a guy who loves the game, and he gets things done. So Mickey was the guy in the clubhouse and on the field that, you know, was a leader that you wouldn't think. And Hershiser having a phenomenal year and consecutive, you know, scoring, you know, streak like that, of no runs scored. So he really was the kind of guy that, and he and I had this relationship where I'd look at him after it'd have a clubhouse meeting with 30 or 40 explicatives in about 4 or 5 minutes. And I'd wait until I was about the last guy out, and I'd look at him, and he'd give me that little sly smile. And I'd smile back at him. But, you know, he was, the old saying, 1 in a million. He's truly 1 in a billion.
Yeah.
And we'll miss him. But I just, on Instagram and Twitter, just said what he was to me, mentor, father. And I said, God called him up, and he's starting tomorrow. He's got Campanella catching. He's got Hodges at first, Jackie Robinson at second, Pee Wee at short, and the whole Dodger cast.
Yeah.
And his body's been restored, and we always have faith. And the gates of the biggest stadium of all time in heaven he's gone through them for sure.
And then finally, Steve, how big do you think it was for Tommy to live long enough, because he's been struggling with his health for a while, live long enough to see the Dodgers win 1 more World Series? Well,
you know, Tommy's story, you know, although it may have been written in the prologue to it, it was a nice exclamation for his career in baseball to have seen, after 32 years, a world championship. Yeah, it's a different generation, it's a different era, but these young fellows who still put on that Dodger uniform are part of the family, part of the fraternity and history of the Dodgers. And for them to finally do it, I know he had a smile on his face. And I think he went for a game or two, probably shouldn't, but I think with God's will, he got there, he saw it. And in his mind, you know, 2020 was complete. His life was complete. And the battle till the end. You know, he suffered so much the last few weeks. It was time.
All right. Steve Garvey, former Dodger great, good friend of us here at NBC Palm Springs, talking about his dear friend Tommy Lasorda, who passed away today at the age of 93. Thank you, Steve.
Always. Gino, thank you.